Hey everyone, I'm Ross Stewart with Stewart Media Digital. Today I would like to talk to you about why you need a 50mm prime lens. This one right here is my Sony Zeiss 50mm 1.4 lens. This one is one of the Sony full frame professional grade 50 prime lenses, but there are a lot of other options. Canon has a 1.8 that's about $100 to $125, and a 1.4 and a 1.2. Nikon has a 1.4, Sony has a 1.8. They have a lot of different 50mm at different price points. So this isn't a review on this particular Sony Zeiss lens. This is just going to be talking about why 50mm are great to have in your arsenal. And to demonstrate that, I would like to show you pictures from very different types of shoots that I've done in the past using 50mm. So first, I shoot a lot of corporate events. So going through here, you can see that in this picture, I was able to step back and get a group shot in a low lighting, candid situation. And then I was also able to step in and get a tighter shot of these two guys shaking hands. So the benefits of the 50mm are they're great in low light, they give you that blurry background. The 1.4 aperture or 1.8 or 1.2, whatever your 50 goes to, gives you that low light capability, the blurry background. You don't have to use flash all the time if you're worried about being disruptive. So in this case, a 50 was really great for walking around and taking candids. Here's another situation where I was in a corporate event. I really loved the shallow depth of field. And this is really focused on this one guy's face reacting to what's going on. Then here we have another candid of people at a group setting, laughing. Next, this is a picture from just a commercial shoot I did for Salon Suites. Again, you have the great depth of the shallow depth of field, but even though I shot this at 1.4, 50mm isn't going to just completely destroy the background. You get that artsy look, but you still can tell what's going on. That's a great aspect of the 50mm. Next, this is now maybe some more unorthodox things. This was a headshot I took with 50mm at 1.4 of a Pilates instructor. I was actually, to get this shot, I was standing in a doorway halfway out of the building, and behind me there were stairs. So I would have really liked to get this framing, this background with a 70 to 200, but I just didn't have the space to move back. So I put on my 50 and got what I think is a great headshot that shows that this is a Pilates studio. It's got the Pilates reformers in the background. So again, it's a headshot with a 50mm, which might not be people's first choice, but it was really great in this situation where an 85 or a 70 to 200 wouldn't have worked out. And this is from the same shoot, demonstrating, again, we're in a Pilates studio, a little bit more environmental. You can see she's sitting on the reformer, and this is almost a full body shot here. Then moving on, 50s are very obvious, a very obvious choice for weddings. So I won't spend too much time talking about using them for weddings, but this is a great example of just, it's sharp. I focused in on the flowers, but you can still see the bride standing behind them, and she's out of focus, but not so out of focus that you can barely tell it's a person. So great use of the shallow depth capabilities of a 50mm, in addition to the sharpness of a prime lens and other great aspects there. Now again, something a little bit more untraditional for a 50mm prime lens. This was a shoot I did of a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition. And this is a situation where I think a lot of people would think that those long zoom lenses would be the only way to shoot something like this, like a 70 to 200 or a 100 to 400. some of those big expensive zoom lenses. But this was just with a 50 millimeter. I was able to get very close to the ground and shoot up and give this larger than life look. And again, we have that shallow depth of field, but it's not so crazy that you don't have the perspective compression that you might get from a 70-200. You can see the environment, and these people are placed nicely in the environment. And you know, people really loved. I also was shooting with a 70-200 at this shoot, but whenever I could, I got down low and shot up with my 50 and got some of these really cool larger than life perspectives. And I think a 50 millimeter prime lens is really perfect for that. Now next, this is just a basic. I was just messing around doing some practice with commercial shots. 50 also seems pretty obvious for that. 50 millimeters is very close to the focal range we get with our eyes. Obviously we have peripheral vision, so we see more, you know, to the sides and up and down than we would with a lens. But in terms of how far away something appears, 50 millimeters on a full frame body is very close to what our eyes see. So it's very versatile and really great for a lot of things. So this is just a basic product shot with a 50 millimeter. I wasn't trying to, you know, the background is very simple. I just had a fog machine, some lights, and a black background. So I wasn't trying to do any kind of crazy perspective compression or get any kind of distortion. I just wanted to show something the way it appears to my eyes, minus all the, you know, editing that would go into this type of commercial shoot. So the 50 was a perfect choice for that. And here we just have a nice picture of a dog I shot last Christmas. I chose the 50 millimeter here because I did want to show some of the environment and to get that really nice blurry background. I tried shooting with a 70-200, but when I zoomed in on the dog's face, her body disappeared and I got that weird perspective compression that you would get from a zoom lens. So I slapped on the 50 and got the shots that still make the dog look like a dog, show the Christmas tree in the background, some of the other decorations, and the perspective was really nice. I got that sharp, natural look, which was really what I was going for. And of course that's not right for every situation. And then here, sort of related to, you know, wedding shoots, this was an engagement I did. We chose this pop-up carnival because of the lights. I didn't have to use flash at all here because again, 50, or a lot of times prime lenses have wider apertures. This was back when I was a Canon shooter. I shot this on my 50 millimeter 1.2 lens. So very shallow depth of field, but again, a great perspective. I really wanted to show the background, but not have it so wide because this was, you know, it's a pop-up carnival in a parking lot. So I didn't want to show too much of the background, but I did like the colorfulness of the lights and the prizes in the background without being too close or too far away from my subject. And again, it was very dark. So having that 1.2 aperture, the low light, I was able to shoot at 1/200th of a second and ISO 1600, which 1600 is a little bit noisy, but not as, you know, I didn't have to bump it up to like 12,800 or anything crazy like that. It was still within a very reasonable range, which I don't think you would get with an f4 or a 5.6 lens. This is a shot I did for a company that does fight apparel and fight gear. Again, I wanted just like a natural perspective. It's not a headshot, so I didn't want that compression on just his face. I wanted to show his whole body and for his body to look appropriately proportional. And I wanted the sharpness. I did shoot this at 5.6 because I had a studio strobe, so I didn't need any low light capability, and I did want his entire body to be in focus. But again, I chose the 50 because of the perspective. I didn't want any kind of perspective distortion or lens distortion. I just wanted it to be about what your eyes would see. So just another great opportunity to use 50 millimeters to show something similar to the perspective of our natural vision. And then next up, we've got a variety of sort of like fashion shots or glamour shots that you get with models. 50 millimeters is a great lens to take around if, like, let's say you're working with an Instagram model, an influencer or something, and you're going to be walking around downtown or something and you just want one lens. 50 millimeters is really great because you can step in a little bit and get a shot like this or like this shot that, you know, it's like mid-waist up. It's similar to, you know, a headshot perspective, and get that nice bokeh. Again, the 1.4 aperture. And even though this was nighttime in Santa Monica, I was shooting at 1.4, 1/100th of a second and ISO 800. So I didn't have to bump the ISO so high that it was super grainy. I got that really nice, bokeh and a great sharp shot of the model in low light with no flash, without bumping up to a crazy ISO. And, you know, you can kind of tell there's people walking around the background. Santa Monica is beautiful, but it was busy, a lot going on. There was construction, and that shallow depth of field really helped isolate the model in a way that a zoom lens, even a 2.8, wouldn't give you nearly this blurry of a background. So something like a 1.2, 1.4, or even a 1.8 50 millimeters is really a great option for a shoot like this. And then kind of by contrast to that, this is stepping back. Again, if you're like with an Instagram influencer or you just want to take some cool shots of your friends or whatever else, you do have the opportunity with a 50 to take a few steps back and show off the environment. There was this weird purple door up a ladder in a downtown Denton, Texas, sort of like a hipster college town in North Texas. So it was really a great find, and something like a 70-200 is a great lens for shooting models, but wouldn't let you show the environment quite as well as a 50 millimeter would. And then here's another one, Santa Monica. I loved the lights, the bokeh. This was again 1.4, 1/100th of a second, and ISO 800. So again, I didn't have to go crazy high ISO to get this low light shot. I didn't have to blow out the background. And I was able to include a great sharp shot of the model, but also some great elements of the background. And we got this light bubble thingy that they sell, that people walk around selling in Santa Monica. And it worked out really nicely. This trip to California, I was working on a film set, and I was not going as a photographer, so I only brought one camera, one lens. I wanted to pack really light. So I chose a 50 and it worked out great. I shot for Malibu Rum. I think clients really enjoy shots like this, even though it's a shot of a cell phone of people taking a picture, because it shows how people were having fun. And in this situation, you have a couple different options. You can shoot at a tighter aperture. I was actually at f4, but because I didn't want it to be so blurry that you can't tell what's going on in the foreground or the background. But this was really great to isolate the phone, and I think it's a unique shot. It's like a photo of a photo. We got some photoception going on right here. But it's a creative way to show clients having fun at an event, at your client's event. Or it's a great way to show guests having fun at your client's event. I shot a model outdoors towards the sunset with this horse, and again, I love the 1.4 aperture on a 50 millimeters, the bokeh in the background, the shallow depth of field, but you still get 50 millimeter prime lenses often do a really great job with sharpness, even wide open. So this was stepped in a little bit closer. This is not, super tight on her face, but this doesn't show off a ton of the environment. And then the same shoot with the same lens in almost the same location, I got this shot with the horse, a poodle, the model, the sunset in the background, the trees, the sun making the grass glow. And this shot stepped back a little bit, got the full body of the horse, the model, this poodle, some parts of the tree, and the great sunset casting this glow across the leaves and the grass. So as you can see, a lot of great versatility here. Finally, a case where you might not expect to want to use a 50. This was a shoot I did for an interior design company. We did put a model here, and a lot of times I go to, when I shoot interior design, I think I'm just going to have my 14mm prime or a 16-35 and think that that's all you're going to need. This is a great example of using something like a 50. I was shooting vertical. Interior design photos are becoming more about showing little vignettes, sections of the room, as opposed to the huge wide shot of the entire room, although that's still part of it. And I would never bring just a 50, but this is a shot that wouldn't have the same quality with that super wide lens. 50 was a great focal length to cut out and isolate some of the main elements of this room without having to step in so close that you might have to with a 16-35. So to recap, we got corporate events, we got headshots, we have instructor portraits, commercial work, working with models, working in low light. We even got some sports and interior design, engagement shoot. 50 is just a really great overall focal length to shoot just about anything. Of course, you have to know how to use it, and it is just a tool. Thanks so much for watching. Please let us know if you would like more videos like this with other focal lengths. And if you're interested in buying a 50mm for yourself, please check out the links below. And remember to like and subscribe.